Just like do with your finger. Cue me. Cue me. Yeah.
Oh, so we're here. This is Key Voice. This is Prophet Prophetic Podcast. This is the Prophetic Podcast. And I'm here with a New Orleans. We're just here to talk about the experiences of COVID here in New Orleans. Um, and just what she's been seeing, what she's been witnessing, and the things she's go through, and get to know, and just get to know her a little bit. You let her come with her name, and just address the community.
Hi, everybody. I'm THERESA CRUSHSHON. I am an independent journalist, award-winning documentary producer, children's book author, Mardi Gras Indian or Black masking Indian, and an art educator. I am based here in New Orleans, and just to see the effects of the pandemic here in the Crescent City, it has personally traumatized me. I often just sit back and watch. I'm always active in my community. I'll go talk to my elders who are always watching the house and everything. I'll walk up to them and just there's a lot of love in the hood. I live in the hood. I consider myself hood rich, and that is a deep word, but culturally, spiritually, you can't beat the community that I live in because the people show you real love. And I have been to many cities and countries, and you don't get it like you get it here in New Orleans. I just got to keep it real with you. People talk to you, they're very genuine. But the pandemic has instilled a deep fear into my elders and even to some young people. We used to embrace each other. New Orleans was big on that. You would get a hug or maybe a kiss on the cheek. Hardly anybody is doing that anymore. I may go if I go to the store, I'll grab my neighbors a few extra little things some hand sanitizer, some dishwashing soap, maybe a few little goodies for them to cook. I've always done that. I've always when I grill, I cook. I have extra. Because I'm a single woman, so I always cook a lot of food. So it's they know when their grill is going that everybody around me is going to have a plate, right? Whether it's some chicken or some shrimp or something. But a few people are hesitant now about receiving home cooked meals from you, and they really truly need it. I'm a lot disappointed. And I'm not going to talk about everybody because I don't know what folks are doing behind the scenes, but some of the conversations that we were having is what are these African American churches doing for the seniors or for some of the single parents in the communities? Where are we're show them some love, reach out to them, call them to see how they're doing because everybody ain't doing well. I'm going to tell you what I know. Everybody ain't doing well. And when I'm on the phone and I'm talking to some of these politicians or, some of the leaders in the community, I'm very honest. I've always been outspoken. And I'm telling them the truth. Get these people, some bottled water. Get them some of the needs because they're not going out of the house. They're afraid. They're afraid to take the vaccine. And I'm going to tell you why folks are afraid because I was afraid to take the vaccination at first. I studied my history, and based on what the government has done to us historically with experiments and saying that, okay, this is good for you. And an example I can give you right off the bat that a lot of people are referencing is the Tuskegee study with syphilis, okay, and how they're going into communities using us as experiments. But at the time the vaccine was available, I was teaching in Alaska. And because of the indigenous people there, the government gave them an abundance of the vaccine. So they had a leftover. And I was fortunate enough to get it because I was in education and I had contact with other educators. We were teaching online, so I was teaching to the kids in the villages. And anytime anybody in those villages uh, coming out to go grocery shopping or coming into like the main hubs in Alaska, if they caught COVID, it would spread to their communities, and it's deep because you can have a community of under 1,000 people. So you mean that one person who has caught that virus can take out a large number of the community, and it's deep. It's taking us out in huge numbers. And when I say I'm just traumatized, the folks that I hear just here in New Orleans dropping off like flies, I'm like, what? Are you serious? Just they're like gone. They're gone. And it's like I'm like it's like such an oh my God moment. And I mean we feel helpless. I was already washing my hands, keeping my whole body clean, my house clean, the whole shebang bang. So they're coming with this whole what do you call it, the whole campaign. I'm like, wait a minute, people weren't doing this prior to, and you got people sitting there asking those type of questions. I just went and had some dental work done. One of the questions they were going to ask you is like, have you been vaccinated? And I'm like, yeah, I've been vaccinated. Have you? And then the hygienist, the assistant who was working on my mouth, she was like, well, I just took my vaccine, the first shot. I'm like, really? You mean to tell me y'all are in the health field and you ain't been vaccinated? Are you? This is deep. It's deep. So you want us as lay folks, right, to go out there and get vaccinated, but people in key positions are not vaccinated. And I want to know why. Okay, I want to know why. And you have to start with the high tiers, and bring it down to the low tiers. Because we are sitting back, we're asking these questions, and we are deeply concerned with our population and how this virus is taking us out. What is really going on? We are very upset about it. Okay.
Let me ask you this: so you're in agreement with the vaccine, right?
Look, I'm gonna tell you this.
And what if
at first I wasn't.
And if you are, did you take what vaccine did you take?
I took the Pfizer vaccine back in November, and two of my friends caught COVID. One was in the hospital, one was at home. And I mean, it scared me to death because these are my girls, right? Anytime I call them, they're like, bam, it's done. But when they got it, it was like I was scared. I was praying. And then I said, well, they said, Teresa, if they got that vaccine available, go get it now. They were like, if anything can keep you from going through what we're going through, go get it. So I called the people back, and I'm like, look, I changed my mind. I want the vaccine. So I think I called the people like on a Monday, and then by Thursday or Friday, I was at the hospital getting the vaccination. But like I said, where I was living, the vaccine was available. It wasn't as if, we can't give it to you because we have such low quantities, and you have to sit back and ask yourself questions about that. We are in America.
So you were, that's when you were in Alaska?
Right, I was out there in Alaska working.
Absolutely. So what was the symptoms did you have any symptoms like
I didn't really have, it made me really drowsy. It made me, sleep. But, it was a 2-part vaccine. You go in, you take one, and then 2 weeks later, they schedule an appointment, and you go in and take the other. So I didn't really have any, negative side effects. Now, because I was in Alaska, and the weather is different, me being, sleepy or drowsy, it could have been an effect of my environment and where I was.
So, all right, if you had a message to the youth, or just to the public in general, especially our community, what would that message be concerning the vaccine and how it affects family, even community, just the neighborhoods?
The message for folks and the elders: reach out to folks because you do need some help right now. You might need some counseling, even if you're going to talk to your minister. Because I'm not big on going to sit in somebody's office with a white jacket on, letting them take some notes. They can't really relate to what we go through as black folks. And I got people in my family who are counselors or doctors and stuff. But I got to keep it real. Yeah, I'm happy that you got that type of education, but it's not really Afrocentric. And y'all, some of y'all are disconnected. You have the whole Western ideology. So you're so disconnected from your own people because of the systems that you have been through. A lot of y'all need to be retrained. You need to talk to some of your elders who can give you that information, right? Okay, because they're the ones who have it. They're the ones that helped you get through them systems. And unfortunately, some of us forget. Those are like the key components. So they need the elders really need to have a network, whether it's with a church or a group of folks. They can check in on them because I really understand their fear and I feel for them. They're really going through some major changes. They're sitting there, they're watching the news and getting these reports. They're getting a lot of misinformation, and some people who are out there working, they can only do so much. They're really spreading themselves thin, and they're stressed out, and they're going through some trauma themselves. So it's a challenge. Now, as far as education goes, I'm gonna keep it real with you. Keep your children at home. Get them online. Y'all get some structure, right? Get them online. Get them some tutors. They have tutors available, and make sure that they're doing the work where they can be successful. Have communicate with their teachers.
Let me ask you this. Since you said about keeping the kids at home, educating the kids, tutoring the kids, right? Do you think that is the direction that we're being pushed to be in, like whereas maybe the parents will have to be teachers, or the parents or whoever the elders is will have to be teachers at home rather than someone else teaching? Do you think that we're being?
I never thought about it like that. You got to realize that technology has been out there. Unfortunately, the pandemic has put an eye on the great digital divide that has been discussed for like the past 3 or 4 decades. Okay, you have the privileged class that have always had their children online participating in cutting edge programs. But because you got these poor black kids that the schools don't even give them iPad or any type of technology to use, they're cut off from that media. Fortunately enough, in New Orleans, you have these people that are, providing after school programming where kids are like culturally connected. But you have to understand New Orleans has that type of wealth where you have these artists and musicians going back providing a service. Every community is not like that. I grew up where my grandparents were involved, my aunts, my uncles. We had activities in the church. We were getting the information we needed to be successful on any level where we could compete. Whether my grandmother was one of the best debaters in the whole world, she could out-talk anybody. Very, very, very brilliant. My people, they were business owners, and they were just they were grounded. They were like honest, and they taught you a work ethic, like, just get up and do what you got to do. So we didn't have the what I see today in these systems that we're put into where we're working. I'm like, wow, these young people are really going through some things like hunger. They're coming to school, they haven't had the proper meals, nutrition, medical. We're not getting that. We're not getting a lot of attention. And I'm not saying everybody, but you have enough. You have enough.
Percentage to.
They're causing a major upset when they hit them classrooms. So, as an educator, you're going to have to know how to deal with these situations. And it's deep. It's deep. They don't have what you think they have, but as far as I think it's opening up an awareness to what people of color do not have technology wise. And I ask myself why. I always ask my students why you don't have a laptop, why you don't have an iPad. I always ask my students that. I said because the school that I taught at in Alaska or in Minnesota, the first day of school, you come to get your iPad. And I'm gonna give you some assignments where you have to use your cell phone or some digital technology. Because I want you to be able to compete. Y'all got the culture. So let me show you how to create narratives on who you are. But the students need to come together and say, separate but equal facilities. I thought, all those cases were discussed way back when. There's still it's still a major division in the school systems, and you have to sit there and you have to ask yourself why and what's really going on. Where's the money? Where's the money going? Well, I'm gonna keep it real with you because I'm a real person.
Hey, listen, I went to Frederick Douglass and I went to Abrams. Totally two different schools. Now one wasn't as much better than the other one, but Frederick Douglass, down in the ninth ward, the way it was, we had some classrooms, a few classrooms had air conditioning, and the rest of the school did not. But from what I understand at the time, those air conditioners it was somebody brought air conditioners to go in the whole school, and they didn't. You know what I'm saying? Somewhere it got, I don't know what happened, but or maybe that's how many they got. I'm just saying hypothetically speaking what I've heard. But anyway, I'm just relating to and I understand the impoverishment, both physically, spiritually, and mentally that our kids go. It's such a strain in the education system because of the home is in disarray.
Right.
Disorder. Most households not having fathers,
Right.
and if the
There's
mother
one
is,
absent, either the father or the mother. And some people always think, oh, it's the mother. No, I have met brothers who are raising their families, and they're doing a great job, and they never get the accolades they deserve. But yeah, you have to look at the classroom setting too. Yeah, with air going out, and you're teaching in Louisiana, and it's like what 90 something degrees, and that's deep. It's like how do you focus? How do you focus?
especially if you probably don't even have AC at the house either.
Right.
So
See,
it's
I
like,
didn't even think about that. I didn't think about that. And it's a lot of things that are missing from the house, but there's some things that are missing in these schools too that folks are afraid to talk about because they really need their jobs. You can't really talk about the situation when you're in the situation because you have to maintain your own too. You want to be an advocate, but what you're trying to do, you're trying to figure out what's the best way to help so everybody can be successful. Just in last year, I was looking at the kids online. I'm like, they didn't even have no notebooks. I'm like, I sent y'all materials to your school. I did that. I sent them top quality materials, paper, paints, drawing pencils, the whole shebang bang. I'm like, I was talking to some of the teachers, and then they were saying that, oh, because of COVID. I'm like, no, you got to give them their computers to work on. So when the kids get the computers, just go ahead and give them the supplies that I sent to your school. And it's just so funny. There was a major disconnect. I want to know what happened to the supplies, right? But see, what I did was, I'm like, okay, for all my students, I just got together and sent them packets. So I knew they had the type of materials because when I'm teaching, I want them to be able to compete on every level possible.
absolutely.
Yeah, so it's just like you sit there and you can see it, but it's like who am I going to complain to at this particular moment when I'm like really deep in this system, right? I'm like looking and I'm documenting.
I just believe that God is up to something. Is up to something great. I believe that a lot of things are going to line up soon and very soon. But a lot of times it has to be disordered before it can be ordered. Like people may think that this is it is a tough time, but it's a much needed time. because a lot of things get unraveled, a lot of things get revealed.
I agree with you.
When certain things happen. And
I
so,
agree.
though it looks evil, in our eyes, it'll be marvelous in God's eye because He's looking for the ultimate victory at the end, right?
Right.
And so, a lot of times, and even in the Bible, you see God trying to free Israel from a place they put themselves in, right?
Right.
And so God would allow the enemy to oppress them, to bring them closer to Him, because they would always wander off in their minds. They would always wander off in their hearts would faint, especially if God wasn't moving fast enough for them, right?
Right.
So that's kind of like the attitude that the kids have today, where they're upset if you don't get them the new iPhones. They're upset if they don't get the new Jordans. They're upset if they can't have a proper purse.
Right.
Never worked a day in their life.
Right.
Don't work.
They don't know the value of it and what the sweat equity is behind them Jordans and that iPhone 11, right?
Yeah.
They don't know what goes into that purchase.
They're not even gonna look at you and ask you how much a bill costs.
No, they don't care. They don't know. Right.
So with that being said, and I said all that to say this. When the home is broken down and you don't leave home with values, everything else is eccentric. It's like, sure, the system is bad, but the real terrorism and the real assassination happened at home. When it was divided. You know
but you got to come in and help fix some of those situations, especially when you got these kids, in your classroom, that you have to function.
Right. So you see, like you were saying earlier about the churches and the ministers doing their part, right? Because they're in the neighborhood. That's why they're there. You're supposed to be community advocates, honestly, and make sure that
and a lot of them aren't, and I'm not afraid to say it. A lot of them, and the pandemic has really put a spotlight on that. I'm like, oh my God, wow.
So
it has just really changed me, as far as what churches I will even visit. Or who I will support as a politician, and I'm like, because when I call a politician, I know you got like 20, 50, 100 people to deal with, but you better have somebody in that office return my phone call. I don't care what secretary or assistant it is. You don't know what I want or what information. And as they have always said, that one voice speaks for a couple of hundred, right? And I'm out here working and giving my time and, doing community service. So
let me ask you this.
Let me go back and talk a little bit about the vaccination.
Let me ask you this. So, with that being said, when kids leave home and they enter into the school system, right? Like you were saying about kids being hungry and stuff like that. Right? So they really can't really concentrate on the work that's there because they're messing. They come there with their minds somewhere else. They come there with, what I'm saying? A lot of things going on in our community. It's not everybody, but it is somebody. Right. So when you come to the preachers, like we were talking about the churches and how they're supposed to be in the neighborhood to advocate and cover all those problems. Keep the village together. That's why this is cross training village, because it's like we're going back to retrain our people to who they are, reconciling them to the right mindset and the right idea about how to look at themselves. For so long, they've been told you're this, you're that, and they've accepted that and crowned themselves with it as an accolade. You know what I mean? And so I just believe that all that those that have chosen to lead and the part they have to play, I believe all of that is coming into play now. Like, we're not lacking anything. Though things look dark, a lot of times it has to look darker before it looks light. Just like you were saying, a lot of things got exposed. So it's like darkness had to come even more so you can see that. So you won't go that way. Put a light on here so you won't do that. So it's kind of like shining light on things. It's not something when you come from a perception of, all of these things are happening for a reason to bring us into a place to where those who are chosen or those that are of the community of righteousness, of justice.
I forgot you were a minister. My bad.
Yeah.
I really forgot. You know, I forget who I'm talking to sometimes. And that's your angle you're coming at. Now, let me tell you where you would be. Let me tell you.
No. We have to wrap it up. I gotta go because you don't want. Matter of fact, we went over the time you said.
I noticed that.
But look, I don't want to give people too much. I want to come back for a second interview, and we can get into some more things. By that time, we probably got. But
okay.
act up on us. But I think that was a sign to say.
I'm cool with that.
So we're gonna go. Thank you so much.
I'm good, man. I'm good. Yeah.
So we're gonna go with a part 2.
That's cool.
On another day, again. Thank you.
You're
for
welcome.
tuning in with us, putting into the community. I hope y'all will share, tag somebody, subscribe to us, subscribe to the channel on YouTube, CRUSHSHON Village. Is there any kind of way, like you have some a YouTube channel coming, social media, any way people can reach you?
They can reach me on Facebook. I have New Orleans Second Line, Mardi Gras, Indians, African American art, history, and culture. Those are like the main pages. So if you hit me up on one of those, I'll respond to you.
Okay, awesome. That's where you can find this queen. Your name again?
THERESA CRUSHSHON.
THERESA CRUSHSHON. I just thank God for that lot of wisdom that was spewed out tonight. I think a lot of people will be blessed. If they're not blessed by it, then they're not blessed by it. You know what I mean? But truth is the truth. Now, my mom always told me that the truth can stand all by itself. You know what I'm saying? And you did bring forth a lot of truth tonight. I brought some truth. The spirit of righteousness of the Holy Spirit brought some truth. You know what I mean?
Right.
That's all that matters. Because the truth, like I said, can stand by itself. But you know what I always say? Put it on repeat. Don't be a hater. Pass it to your neighbor. Y'all be blessed on tonight.
I like that. Wow. It's cool. That's really cool.
Y'all be blessed.
Okay, you stop it.